Thunderbolts with an asterisk. Yes, we're here to do a spoiler review of this film. What do I think about it? Was it good? Was it bad? Is the MCU back? Let's get into it. Starting off with the story, of course, we follow Yelena. She's the main character in this film, it feels like, as she's still dealing with the loss of her sister, Natasha Romanoff. She's on the second tallest building. I mean, everyone's seen it. Even if you've not watched the film, even if you're not into Marvel, you've probably seen the clip of Florence Pugh jumping off the building, the second biggest building in the world. She jumps off. She enters a lab. It's Oxcorp, not Oscorp, Oxcorp. It's Valentina's corporation. And she's been doing some experiments, which we later find out was experiments to make Sentry, to make the Earth's mightiest hero, just the singular one. He's basically Superman in the MCU. Her mission is just to clean up, blow it up, remove all the evidence. She does that, and then we see that Valentina, the person who's been slowly over the last few years in the MCU building up these people to be her mercenaries. She's getting impeached because they think she's been doing some dodgy business. And she's like, you ain't gonna find nothing. Cuts to the next scene. She's like to her PA, we need to get rid of everything. We need to clean up everything, clean up house. And that also includes her mercenaries, the people that she's hired to do her dodgy dealings over time. Of course, this includes ex-Captain America John Walker, Ant-Man and the Wasp antagonist Ghost, Yelena, and there's one more, isn't there? Oh yeah, Taskmaster. In the vault, they have a job to take out another member within this group, okay? And in the kerfuffle, in the fight, they accidentally open up a box that includes and contains Bob, who we later find out was one of the test subjects for the Sentry project, okay? And that is Bob. He doesn't know how he ends up there. Long story short, we're there in this vault, in this, base, for quite a long time in this film. I was quite surprised how long we spend here. Not a problem in my eyes. I actually think it's a brilliant way to, make it a bit slower, a bit more grounded, but then allow us to see their dynamics, see these characters and these people get to know each other, and they butt heads quite a lot, but they come together and work their way out of this vault in one way or another. Yeah, I really enjoyed this whole sequence, this whole time that we spend with them, because as I said, we're just seeing their dynamic build between John Walker, Ghost, Yelena, and of course Bob. And we slowly get in little trickles of information about Valentina. Also finds out though from the security footage that, who's this person? Oh, it's Bob. It's Bob, wasn't he? He was a test subject. He wasn't even supposed to be the real deal, but the fact that he's alive and survived shows that he's the only person to survive the test project that she was doing of the Sentry project. He was the only experiment to survive, so therefore he is the only one left. Even though it wasn't her ideal choice, she's going to make sure that she mothers it, nurtures it, and makes sure that he is the Earth's mightiest hero that she can use to have control. I really enjoyed the line. I can't remember it perfectly, but if you've watched the film, you remember it, when she just basically said, there is no good or bad. There's just someone bad and someone even worse. And then if you have someone with that power, you basically control the narrative, control the world. You have the control. Yeah, I really like that sort of dynamic where she's a villain, but she's not a villain. So we see Bob finally show his powers. He gets shot down. He ends up flying in the sky. He falls down, crashes, and then he gets extracted by Valentina back to New York within the Avengers Tower that she's now bought. And then we spend a lot of time with Yelena, John Walker, and Ghost as they're trying to escape the desert. And this is where we're introduced to properly Red Guardian. Okay, we've seen him before, but this is him in his get-up now. He's ready to be the hero. And he's driving through the desert screaming. He's a bit of a comedic relief in this moment, but he's screaming, Yelena, she's gonna kill you. He's very late to the party, but I really enjoyed that. I'm rushing through this, but you've seen the story. I really enjoyed it. Red Guardian, then in the limo, they're all in there. There's a funny few moments in that. They are driving as fast as they possibly can in this piece of trash limo. It can get to 55 miles per hour. They're getting chased down. Then all of a sudden, boom, Yelena shoots a car. No, it's Bucky. Bucky's here. We all saw the clip. They've shown it a lot in the trailers, but he's basically the Terminator in this moment. He takes down these 3 convoys, and then we see he arrests these 4 people. But for what reason? Because they are evidence against the impeachment of Valentina. That's still the main point of this film at this moment in time for Bucky. But then he learns of Bob, he learns of Sentry, and he learns of these people aren't the bad guys in this moment, even though they're all misfits and they have done bad in the past. Of course, he knows very well about John Walker. So they all basically have a team up, and this is when the Red Guardian gets really funny, because he's like, we're a team, we're the Thunderbolts. And then they drive over to New York. They smash into the Avengers Tower to make a big stand, a big moment. And Valentina's like, the elevator's working, just come up. Why are you beating up my men? Like, what the hell? They go up. And this is the moment. She introduces them to now Sentry. It's no longer Bob, it's Sentry. He's in the whole get-up. He's got the blonde hair. He's got the gear on, and he just stands there. And he's been told to basically remove them from the room. And they, in their right mind, because they believe in themselves, they back themselves, they go full-fledged to attack him. He doesn't even break a sweat. And it's the bit, so he deals with them, they flee, and then he realizes that he doesn't have to take Valentina's orders. He's the god. He's the be-all and end-all of this. So he gets aggressive to her because he lets into that dark side to himself. They hit the kill switch, and then he fully becomes the Void, which we saw earlier when he was like having a small touch of a hand with someone. He sends them to a dark, distressing, traumatic memory. For Yelena, it was her first ever person that she got killed, or for John Walker, it was when his wife decided to leave him and his kid. It sends him to this dark place. So he fully becomes this dark figure, the Void, which is something we've been hearing a lot in this film about, the deep, dark, depressing things that we push down, and we don't deal with. We put it into the Void. And this is like a full-on physical incarnation of that, as he now spreads out his dark shadow across New York to send everybody else into the Void. It's causing a lot of havoc and stuff, and the Thunderbolts, the team, are now actually saving citizens, and it feels very, I don't know, it feels, in things like Age of Ultron, for example, or the first Avengers, there are moments like this where you feel like they're actually saving the people of New York, saving the people on the street, whether it's holding a big boulder or covering up a child, but as a bit of debris falls on top. That moment there was actually, I did chuckle, I can't lie. He saves that kid, and then shadow. To us in that moment, she's dead. Like that was mental. Obviously it passes on. Yelena and Red Guardian have a beautiful little conversation here where the emotion in this film is unreal. Again, I'm going to have a section talking about that later. Yelena enters the Void. I don't know if she knows if she's going to survive or not. I think she does it where like this could work or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, she's happy to die. And that's like the darkness that we kind of speak about in this, we see in this whole film. And then we go through a whole list of different dark memories, and she's in the Void. She ends up finding Bob. And long story short, they save the day by giving him a hug. Now, a lot of people will call that out, but I think it's beautiful. I genuinely do love this end sequence because we've seen that they have no physical prowess over Sentry. They can't destroy him. So they have to find his true self, his true like inner child, his inner person, Bob. They need to find him and then make sure they nurture him and make sure they be there for him, because he was so, destroyed and so broken down in his childhood and his upbringing. He's had some very dark times, which we see with an abusive father, or when he was a drug addict and things like that on meth as a chicken, and all those things. So I really like that ending. And of course, as they bring Bob out, he forgets everything, but they save New York from the Void. And then Valentina tricks them to follow her, and then she has a massive press announcement, which I don't know how all of the press people would have been there that quickly. If you really want to go pedantic about it, they're all in the Void. Like, how did they end up there so quickly? Anyway, they're all there, and then she announces the new Avengers, and I thought that was mental, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's move over to the action in this film. I think the action was incredible, especially the vault sequence. You've got these 4 individuals with such different fighting styles. I think the limo chase was incredible as well. Of course, I think the best and the most amazing sequence was the Sentry fight, because they just get absolutely obliterated. I was told by a friend how strong Sentry is, and of course we hear in the film how much he has, like the power of 1,000 burning stars, or whatever it is, exploding suns. He is incredibly powerful. We see the different uses of his power, whether it's just holding on Bucky's arm, burning it, the ability to drag and pull people, or all these abilities, flying, everything like that. And when he dashes Red Guardian out and brings them back in, it's like he's playing with them. He's completely nonchalant about it. And then they flee. And I really like that they flee. They're panicked and they're running away. They realize they haven't got the capabilities to take him on. And that's why when later down the line, you see them adjust and not see it as a thing like that. They need to get to his inner child, his inner person. And then the final sort of action sequences were them saving the citizens of New York. And I thought they all had their own individual moment. And then of course you had John Walker holding the big bit of debris, and then they all come across and push it as well. I did find it funny because, you got a super soldier there, a super soldier there, and a super soldier there. Then you just got Yelena and Ghost. Yelena and Ghost don't have the strength to be pushing that, but they still push it because it's supposed to be representative of them all working together, being this team, this new team setup. Speaking of the team, it's only right now that we go into the characters of this film and what I thought of all of them. I thought Yelena was incredible in this film. Genuinely, Florence Pugh puts in a fantastic performance because she's dealing with this depression, this emotion that she's holding in and pushing down of, losing her sister. We find out later on that she's unhappy with her life. She's spending her day just waking up, going to work, coming back, drinking, and then, you know, just be on her phone. Like, she's stuck in this routine that she hates. She's just quite frankly depressed, and I think that was quite interesting to see explored straight away. I just thought this whole lineup of characters was, you know, this whole idea of these bunch of misfits that don't really, you know, have a moral compass. They're all brilliant in their own right. John Walker, obviously the disgraced ex-Captain America, is in this film. He's a bit of a lump, bit of a idiot. He's a bit of an egotistical guy as well. He's I'm an ex-Marine. I've served here, there, and everywhere. Follow my lead. I know what we're doing. But as we see him go through this film, I feel like he gets better in that. I don't know, like even something like the fact that Sentry bends his shield. It's like he's bending his ego, bending his, you know, this idea about him, and then he doesn't ever get it fixed. It looks like. So it's like he has been molded a bit better. If that makes sense. There's a little bit of a metaphor maybe there. Other characters, of course, Ghost wasn't as pivotal in this film, I don't feel like, but I feel like she can get more screen time and more big moments going down the line. Does she survive Doomsday though? I don't know. Who survives Doomsday here? I don't even. They're all going to be in trouble, I feel like. But of course, they're a new team. I did enjoy them all. So like Ghost, Valentina, the PA, Bucky, I thought was a perfect figurehead for this team. At the beginning, I thought, he wants to be a congressman. Why would he want to pivot and be part of this team now? However, in the moment where you look at this team, he is the perfect figurehead. He's the one who can make them all. He's done this before. He was somebody who committed untold atrocities as a sleeper agent. Now he's a new man, and he's dealing with the trauma of what he's done in the past, and he's pivoted. He can help them pivot as well. You can imagine off screen, like he's helping them deal with this change in their life. That they're going down. Of course, I want to quickly mention Red Guardian. David Harbour was hilarious in this role. I feel like he actually hit every beat that he needed to, whether it was humor, comedy, or emotional. I thought the talk of him and Yelena at the end, when Yelena goes into the void and he just sees her as probably dead, he's distraught. I thought he was fantastic in this role. Every time he was on screen, I was enjoying it. He was funny. The fact he was so adamant and really wanting it to be a team up and a team, which I think deeper lining, it's because he was also quite depressed in his life. You know, he was watching he was living in the past. He was watching old videos of him in his prime. He wanted the team to have purpose outside of it. He was masking it, trying to be like, yeah, I'm a limo driver. I'm loving life. He wasn't. Deep down, he wanted this. He wanted that. And he wanted to be on the Wheaties box, and he managed it in the end, which was fantastic. And of course, the final character I need to talk about is Sentry and Bob, one of the best additions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe I've ever seen. Not just for his powers and his abilities, of course, that's incredible in its own right, but his actual character, you know, the emotion, his past, his history that he's dealing with, the fact that there's different entities to him. You know, you've got Bob, but then you've got the Void, and then you've got Sentry. Like, when he has that power and he realizes he's this god, he then goes a little bit, you know, power crazy, but then deep down that is the Void. Like, he's got that dark side to him, whereas normal Bob is just a sweet, lovable, innocent guy who has had a very torrid time basically in his upbringing. And of course the Void, like in the moment, doom, doom, shadows, it's like he's killing them all. But when we realize what he is actually doing, it feels like he just wants people to feel how he's been feeling. You know, the Void is spreading out this shadow across New York, and he wants people to go to their darkest traumas. Of course, that is horrible and horrific, but the reason he's doing it is he wants them to feel what he's been feeling. Like, so he's not technically alone in that moment because he's taken the whole of New York, but deep down, the true Bob is so alone. And that's what we see in the very end when they have to run over and they pull him off the Void and give him a hug. Because that's what he's always wanted this whole time, is just to be with people, to not feel like a lone soldier alone in solitude. He just wants to have people. And I think that's a great message to real life. You know, a problem shared is a problem halved. It's something I've been told my whole life. Yelena says she feels better by sharing and not keeping herself secluded. And that's what she's trying to tell Bob, and that's what she's learned, and then she can help him, and they can learn together and grow together. Beautiful. Then there, of course, was Taskmaster. Let's move on. Now, I'm joking. Taskmaster is a shame, but also I think if you don't read the comics, you don't necessarily care too much. Like, she could have been expendable in that moment, and I think it makes sense that one of the four would have died in that moment, because they're all great mercenaries. They would have been able to remove one of them, you know? It makes it believable. Overall, though, I feel like a lot of people have been crapping on the MCU for a while, especially for saying, we don't care about these new characters, man. Where's Iron Man? Where's Captain America? I don't care about these characters. But I first of all disagree with that. There's so many characters they've introduced that I do care for now and are brilliant additions. But this film is the cherry on the cake. Do you know what I mean? Every single one of these now are fully fledged, loved characters, and you can't tell me any other way. You care for every single one of these, and I hope they continue on in the future. These are a good group, and they're a lot of fun. And you know, it proves that the MCU is not dead, and they can bring new characters in and still be amazing. I do just very quickly want to touch on the emotions in this film. You know, you got the humor, but you've also got the darker tones and the depression explored, and I think that is beautiful. I think there's a lot of things like this you could say they've touched on in the past, maybe here or there. This one's very in your face, like very like this is the plot, this is the whole crux of this film. Comes down to your deep dark emotions, the things that you push down that you don't want to deal with into the void. And I think just the understanding that it wasn't just Bob, it wasn't just this super freak that it was every single person had their issues, had their moments, had their things, and Yelena was the main one that we explore. And it isn't just this idea of she committed heinous crimes in the past and that's what she's dealing with. It was the fact that she was just grieving. I think that was the big crux of it, of her void, of her depression, was she didn't like the life she led. She had a very mundane, repetitive routine, an unhealthy routine, and that can be applied to so many people in real life. Like, I can see myself in that. You can see yourself in these characters in these moments. And again, I don't think it's about Bob, Sentry, the Void. It wasn't about this super being. It wasn't about that, this film. The emotion was what it was all about. It was how these new people disliked each other, but deep down they need people. They need each other. They're solo mercenaries. They feel more alone than ever before. The only person who's outwardly crying for it is Red Guardian, because he was a hero in the past. These characters all want it. They all want to be in a team. They all want people in their life because they're so alone. And we just see that they succumb to that slowly, but they do enjoy it once it becomes a thing. But the twist, they are now the new Avengers, not the Thunderbolts. That's what the asterisk was for, the new Avengers. First of all, we all knew something was going to be said there, the asterisk. I thought it'd be the Dark Avengers. I watched a load of videos on it. After recording this video, it came out that they've changed the title officially of the film from Thunderbolts asterisk to asterisk New Avengers. Of course, if you watch the film, you know exactly why they've done this. If you haven't watched the film, you might be very confused. I just want to say there's a lot of people complaining and moaning about this. I just think it makes a lot of sense. Look, after the opening weekend, people have seen it that would want to see it, and then it's probably going to trickle off as time goes on. They've chucked this out there because they're going to get all of that middle fandom, the fandom that don't go to watch films in the cinema when it's not about a character they care about. There's no Iron Man, no Captain America, no Hulk. Why am I going to be there? But now they know it's the new Avengers. It's going to be very intriguing, and therefore more people are going to go out to the cinema, so they're going to get a higher box office. They had a decent opening weekend from what I looked at. I think they almost hit the budget of the film, so they would have been in a profit and have been a successful film, but this is just going to upsurge the amount of people going out now watching it in the cinema. I understand 4 days is a bit quick. However, it's obviously done for a reason, and in a marketable way, it's unquestionable why they've done this. I did enjoy seeing them as the new Avengers, you know, with a Z maybe, but 14 months on, like, I do like it. And I very much liked, because Kevin Feige, I saw, apparently wanted the credit sequence to be the public, news headlines and things like that, basically just calling them out, saying what on earth, because that's what we're kind of doing. This isn't as strong as the previous Avengers. You're going to always compare them to the previous Avengers, and even Sam Wilson's Avengers. Like, they're dealing with so much to be the standalone team, and I don't think they will be, but I feel like they will pivot and maybe be called something else down the line, or maybe they'll do a massive merger with Sam Wilson's lot. But the whole bit of Sam Wilson and Bucky having a bit of a problem makes sense as well. They've dealt with so much together. They've been through so much together. Then Bucky ends up being part of a team with somebody that almost destroyed the whole of New York. I'd be annoyed as well. And he is Captain America. He is the Shield. He should be the one leading the team. That's the whole point of it. And then he makes this other separate team. Obviously, in the credit sequence as well, there's the headlines calling them out, like the B-Vengers. They're not the Avengers. I feel like there's a little bit of they definitely explored it in that. If I looked into it again, you'd see them maybe have some critiques of who is part of this team. I feel like when you just think of the general public in New York, of course they did save people on that day, but there'd be a massive amount of people saying, John Walker, part of the Avengers, he unalived someone in public just because he was angry. They'd look at these people and they'd be questioning them. Do you really want them to be your team? But clearly 14 months on they are, and they're in the Avengers Tower now, which is really cool. The post-credit sequence as well, seeing the Fantastic Four. A lot of people saying it spoiled Fantastic Four. First of all, we all kind of knew what the plot of Fantastic Four was going to be. They're in a completely different universe. They're in a completely different timeline. So of course they're gonna something's gonna have to happen to their planet, to their timeline, for them to come over to our one. Do you know what I mean? You've got to connect the dots somehow. So this is what you've been waiting for. I know it's been a long video, but I've had a lot to say about this film. I really did enjoy it, as you can tell from what I've been saying. And I can let you know, I rated this film an 8.5 out of 10. The MCU never was gone, and I don't care about anyone who says it was. The MCU, though, to those that think it was gone, is back, okay? Brave New World was great. Deadpool and Wolverine was fantastic. We've got Fantastic Four coming out in a few months' time. Then we've got Doomsday. Then we've got Brand New Day Spider-Man. Then we've got Secret Wars. Tell me, like, all of you people that dropped off and gave up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, don't try and come back now and say you love it. Don't. We don't want you, okay? We stayed true. Yes, there were some bad films, but there was context to why there was bad films. Writer's strike, COVID, and Taika Waititi having an absolute stinker with Love and Thunder, but we don't talk about that. Quantumania, Love and Thunder, there were some shoddy ones in there, but there were some fantastic films, and this may be the cherry on the cake. This might be my number one in this new era of Marvel. Okay, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this film out of 10. Who's your favorite character? I think mine's got to be Red Guardian or Yelena. Now, Yelena. Florence Pugh is going to carry the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a long time to come. I'm loving it. I'm loving these characters. Can't wait to see them in more installments. Fingers crossed they survive Doomsday to some way, shape or form. But hopefully we see them again in the future. I'd love maybe a Civil War 2 sort of vibe with Sam Wilson's team versus this team. I don't know. It'd be really, really cool to see. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. I've been Floppyleggs. If you're not subscribed, please do drop a sub, and I'll see you when I see you.